Hi, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to Grow a Legacy. We are so delighted to have you with us tonight as we come together to celebrate your legacy commitments to secure our Jewish future. It's an honor to stand before you as co-chairs of the host committee tonight, Mark and Tamar Stern, and my husband Jim, and I'm Lisa Hayner. Tonight we honor not only the enduring spirit of generosity that has sustained our community, but also the forward-thinking commitment to ensure our traditions and values continue to flourish l'dor vador from generation to generation.
Good evening. As president of the Ahavat Achim Synagogue, I want to welcome you here tonight. Before we begin, I would like to thank our AA staff, Barry, Miriam, Jackie, and Chris, for taking care of the logistics for tonight's event. And I would also like to thank our sponsors, and if they would please rise. The Harold Grinspoon Foundation, probably not here, Associated Insurance and Risk Management Advisors, Free Rent ATL by Roots, and South State. Your generous support has made this evening possible, and we thank you. I'm also very excited for tonight's speakers. We all have women in our lives who influenced us. And for Tamar and myself, it's absolutely been our mothers who have modeled being active in the community, volunteering, philanthropic, and really set the example for us in the Atlanta Jewish community. And as we set the stage for tonight's program, I would like to invite Rabbi Rosenthal to come join us up here to say a few words. His leadership and insight resonates with what we are doing here tonight in creating a legacy for our community. And I would also like to thank all of you for your support and input in creating and supporting the future of Jewish Atlanta.
Thank you, Mark. It's really a pleasure to be here. I want to begin my remarks with just a quick sad note. Some of you were in the room this morning, and many of you, I'm sure, know that our community lost Sanford Orkin. He is reuniting with his beloved Barbara as we speak, and it's a difficult day for our congregation, and I know for our community. So I was asked if we could have just a quick moment of silence in this moment to remember Sanford, remember the dedication. Tonight, it couldn't be more on point with a person like Sanford. So thank you for these couple seconds that we'll just have in silence. Thank you, everybody. On behalf of President Stern, of our congregation and the board of directors, on behalf of myself and Barry Herman, our executive director, and all of our office staff, behalf of Chris Carr and our maintenance staff, and Officer Joe Jones and our security staff, we are grateful that you are here and glad that you came out to be part of our community tonight for this very special event about legacy, something that we are all very, very interested in and need to be paying much more attention to, because it is how we continue in an internal sort of way. Which is, of course, if you were here with us this morning when I spoke about Sanford, but also if you're paying attention to our Sidra, our weekly reading, you know that we begin by talking about that very light. Now, don't get caught up that it's not in the center. We're working on it. Building sometimes leans. So the eternal light, the Ner Tamid, is something that is ubiquitous in all congregations. We have one in our chapel. I have no doubt in the synagogues and the congregations that you go to or grew up in, they had something, whether as beautiful artistic rendering as that or any other, maybe even more traditional one, they have that light. Now, it's very interesting, that particular light, because there are certain things that congregants take on as their pet peeve. Everybody's got a pet peeve. This becomes a big one, because if that light goes out, it doesn't matter how in shambles a congregation or how beautiful a congregation could look, like our sanctuary does look. If that light bulb goes out, people flip out. You know what I'm talking about. They wonder all types of things. Why is that, Rabbi? What's going on? What happened? They speak of it as if it is some sort of spiritual conundrum. I have to remind them that it is a light bulb, and light bulbs have length of days, like all of us. And so it'll be changed when we get a tall enough ladder. Very practical sort of answer. But of course, our Torah gives us a command that seems impossible, to have the ner tamid, an eternal light, because it is, isn't it? The light bulb eventually goes out and we have to replace it. But isn't that an incredible metaphor for what you are all doing? What you are all committing yourselves to, what this conversation is about. The Jewish community, in the time that this commandment in our Torah was talked about, the community looked very different, didn't it? We were a group of slaves leaving Egypt. We were wandering through the desert, and we were making a tent in the center of our encampment in which God's presence would dwell within. Think of our community today. We are spread out over this incredible city. And then the Jewish community of North America is spread out over this amazing landscape, both of the United States, Canada, Mexico. You go anywhere in the world, and these lights are in every place throughout the world. So the Jewish community changes, but this does not. The command to keep something eternal, to continue something on long past our physical days. Yes, the light bulb will go out, but it must be replaced. And it'll be replaced by another generation. It'll be replaced and fixed and then relit and then watched over and then inspire those who come into that space. Dare I say, this is more than just a light bulb. It is a metaphor for what we do. It is a command for how we must live our life. It is a way in which we as a community need to be thinking about what it looks like for our spiritual existence. It must last longer than the light bulb we have in our soul. It must live longer and go on from generation to generation. So my friends, that is our charge today. We're given the charge of lighting an eternal light and keeping it lit. We are here to hear how that light is sustained. Thank you for being partners in this very holy endeavor. Take care.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I am Renee Kuttner, and I am the CEO of Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta, and it is my real pleasure to welcome you here this evening. Mr. Rogers taught us that when you see something scary in the news, of which we have seen so much over the last 17 months, to look for the helpers. There's always helpers. But often, it's the helpers who are willing to risk their lives, or tragically those who lose their lives, who we think of as heroes. Last week, I was charged with a question that reframed my thinking on this. I was asked, what are you willing to live your life for so that when you're no longer here, it will have mattered? Not risk your life for, but live your life for. Every one of you in this room tonight, whether consciously or not, have asked yourself that question. And you are heroes, and that is what we are here to celebrate. Jewish Atlanta is blessed by so much generosity. At the Federation alone, we're going to raise over $27 million this year to be able to impact organizations around Jewish Atlanta and around the world. When you make an annual gift, you are aligning your resources with your values, and that is truly making our world a better place. But you in this room know it is not enough to just think about the world today. The greatest gift we can give is not our wealth, but the wisdom to use our wealth for the betterment of those who come after us. A legacy gift is not just a gift. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It is the bridge to the future that is built by the hands of those before us and continually strengthened by those who come after us. And that's why Federation is not just about an annual campaign, though if you haven't made a gift to that, I would love to talk to you afterwards. Atlanta Jewish Foundation is an integral part of how we ensure the philanthropic future of Jewish Atlanta and beyond. The foundation is literally the foundation of Jewish philanthropy in Atlanta. It's providing tools for current ways of giving, such as donor advised funds, and also a wealth of resources to enable giving for tomorrow, which is what we're here celebrating tonight. As I said before, the greatest gift that we can give is not our wealth, but the wisdom to use our wealth for the betterment of those that come after us. Tonight, we are so fortunate to benefit from that wisdom as we hear from a panel of matriarchs in our community. As Mark alluded to, so often when I talk to people about their Jewish journeys, they talk about their mothers. Because the matriarchs are the keepers of Jewish family history, tradition, and wisdom. They hold a central role in nurturing and guiding future generations through their stories. The 4 women that we are lucky enough to hear from tonight each have such different stories, but they all have the same ending. They all end by leaving the people who hear them greatly inspired. It is an honor to hear tonight from tonight's remarkable speakers. Etta Hirsch, Raya Zalek, Kathy Seelig, and Kathy Berman. They are true leaders in our community, shaping its future through their philanthropy and their service. Together, they have volunteered or been on the boards of over a dozen key organizations in Jewish Atlanta, including Jewish Home Life, Temple Sinai, Jewish Women's Fund of Atlanta, Atlanta Scholars Kollel, Jewish Family and Career Services, Atlanta Jewish Academy, the Temple, Tamima High School, and of course, Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta. They have been regularly recognized for their philanthropy. JFNA's Kipnis and Wilson Award, the Seelig Distinguished Service Award, AFP's Philanthropist of the Year, the list goes on. But their most lasting legacy goes beyond their impressive accomplishments. As mothers, grandmothers, friends, neighbors, they have invested in the future of Jewish life by planning for tomorrow. Through endowments and legacy gifts, they ensure that our community grows, flourishes, and is sustained for generations to come. Together, they are the proud grandmothers of over 20 grandchildren, representing our Jewish community's vibrant and diverse future. As we begin our program tonight, and we celebrate both heroes and matriarchs, I can't help but think about the Festival of Purim, which at just this time next week we will be celebrating. The holiday where the Jewish people are saved from the evil Haman by none other than Queen Esther. My favorite line in the Megillah which is the story that recounts the story of Purim, is when Mordechai goes to Esther and he says to her, "Who knows if you were put in this royal position for exactly this moment?" And in that question, Esther knows what her legacy will be, and she answers the call. Like Queen Esther, the women that we are fortunate enough to hear from tonight have answered the call. And their commitment calls all of us to think about the legacy that we want to leave and how we can invest in the future of Jewish life. So without further ado, it is my absolute privilege to introduce our Francis Bunzel Chief Advancement Officer, Lindsay Kopecki, who will moderate this evening along with our panelists.
Good evening. I'm Lindsay Kopecki, and I am the Francis Bunzel Chief Advancement Officer for the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta and the Atlanta Jewish Foundation. I'm honored to serve in the first, and currently only, endowed position within the Federation, a role named after a remarkable matriarch in our community whose legacy continues to inspire us every day. In our tradition, the story of Queen Esther reminds us that one courageous act can transform history. As Renee said, her legacy teaches us that the decisions that we make today, rooted in faith, courage, and commitment, have the power to secure our future. Tonight, as we reflect on that timeless lesson, we are here to build our own legacies, ensuring that our community remains vibrant and resilient for generations to come. As we honor these enduring commitments, I am delighted to transition our conversation by introducing our four remarkable voices, Etta Ray, Raya, Kathy, and Candy, whose insights further illuminate the powerful impact of legacy in our lives. Ladies, I would love to know from you, what role does tzedakah play in your lives?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
You know, my 98-year father always says, we are not put on this earth just to take up space. And our whole family has lived that way. For me, philanthropy is not how you give, it's how you live. And for us, it's about expressing yourself. It's about making your voice heard. It's the friends you have. It's the things you care about. And it's the passions that you choose to support. So that is, for me, that is what philanthropy is. It's a way of life.
And you really live that all the time, Candy. You really do.
I try to.
Yeah. Kathy, what about you? What role does tzedakah play in your life?
Well, for me, tzedakah is definitely much more about giving than writing a check to the many organizations that come to my family each and every day. When I was a little girl, tzedakah was about putting money in the tzedakah box at Sunday school, and I would save up money and put nickels, dimes, quarters in the tzedakah box. As I got older, I learned that I needed to do something to feel good, to try and repair the world. So for me, going to Russia 30 years ago to help bring the refuseniks, to march with them, to bring them medicine supplies, that was my first experience with real tzedakah and helping people who really needed it. Then 20 years ago, I went with my son, who invited me to go to Ethiopia to bring the released married Jews from Ethiopia to Israel. And when we took them on the airplane, they had never seen an airplane, they had never flushed a toilet, they had never had a fork in their hand, and that was really helping people in need, and that was one of my forms of tzedakah. And even this time last March, going to Israel, I just felt the calling to go to Israel to bear witness and to volunteer and to help the Jews who were there who were suffering and to bear witness to their atrocities. That was, for me, that is tzedakah, is giving back, trying to repair the world, and volunteering.
So powerful. Raya, what about you?
Good evening. Tzedakah is not charity, but a Jewish obligation according to the Torah. The Torah was given first to the women, so we as mothers are responsible to teach our children the laws according to the Torah. We being B'nai Israel, children of Israel, we are all family, and it is our responsibility to take care of our brothers and sisters. So caring for my brothers and sisters is an important obligation in my life.
It's beautiful. Edare, what about you?
Well, I learned tzedakah very early from my parents at home. We lived on a farm in Tennessee, and we really didn't have a lot of extra money, but every fall a box appeared in a closet, and little by little groceries were put in there, bag of flour, bag of sugar, some cans, whatever. And by Christmas time, that box was full and it got given to a family in need. So that was the beginning, and it's just grown within me ever since. And I just get great joy in having the pleasure of helping and doing good things where I can. And I feel that it's my obligation to, to learn what's needed in the community and where I can be of help.
Thank
That's
you.
what I try to do.
You do a great job. Raya, how would you say that your upbringing impacted your philanthropy?
My grandfather fled from Tomsk, Siberia in Russia, to Harbin, China, to escape anti-Semitism and persecution in the very early 1900s. He was a successful pelt merchant, and he felt it was his responsibility to take care of the new Russian Jews that came to Harbin. And so he organized, and he did, distribute fresh baked challahs and chickens to Jewish families in need. That's in the early 1900s in China. So every Jewish family could celebrate Shabbat. My grandfather was also responsible for all Jewish families in Harbin, China, to have matzah at Pesach. I was born in Shanghai, and as a 4-year-old, recall my father and my uncles discussing the need to support HIAS, and which is possibly the oldest refugee agency and the Joint, both beneficiaries of the Federation. So my family thanks each one of you for your support of our Federation and the Jewish people in desperate need. Very strong in my memory is my parents caring and helping new Jewish immigrants when we were barely settled in Sydney, Australia.
Wow. What a remarkable story. Candy, what about you? Can you tell me any of the maybe principles that have helped guide your life and your philanthropy?
Sure. My first principle that I talk about a lot is that you don't have to be rich to be a philanthropist.
So true.
My best gift ever was when I was in my 20s, and Steve had just started out in his practice, and we had, my dad was giving us $1,000 a month to help support us while he got started. And I remember that I went to the women's retreat, and I decided to pledge $1 a day. So I pledged $365, and the way I paid for it, and this is dating me, but I stopped my diaper service. And for $6 a week, I was able to pay $365. And honestly, that is the best qualitative gift I have ever made. The other thing that I really believe is that giving is a reflection of your passions. And your passions are based on your life experiences, and they change. So my passions were, at the beginning, when I was younger, it was day school education. Then it became leadership development, because as an immigrant to Atlanta, it was very hard to get involved unless you were a native. And so leadership development was really important to me, because I always wanted other people to have it much easier than it was when I came. So I did leadership development. I was very involved in that. And then now, when my mother got dementia, and I saw what Birmingham has, which is very little, and how lucky we are here to have Jewish Home Life, I just felt like that was my next passion. So those are the two biggest things. Of course, the obvious one is that we take so much from the community, and we're so fortunate that we have an obligation to give back. But, you know, those other two are just really what I preach about.
Yeah, I love the idea that your passions can change within your lifetime, and that what we care so much about now, we may add on to that in the future, and it might shift. And I think that that's really wise. It's okay to say that something else has come along that you feel really excited about. I think that's cool.
Exactly.
Kathy, who are the biggest influencers? Not like influencers like we know it. Like, who are like the biggest like influences, I should say, in your life that impacted your philanthropy?
Okay, so going back a little, I was raised in a loving, very assimilated home in Atlanta, devoted to community, family, and Georgia sports.
Not necessarily in that order.
Not necessarily in that order. Though we weren't very religious, I definitely was raised with a Jewish heart and soul. When I was around 10 years old, or maybe a little less, my maternal grandfather, Ben Massell, took me to the opening of the old Ben Massell Dental Clinic, which he had donated. And this dental clinic served, I think back then it was an eye and dental clinic. It served the needy population in Atlanta. He taught me at a very early age the importance of giving back, standing up for what you believe. And I'm hoping, in fact, I decided several years ago, I do Hanukkah with my grandchildren every year, and every year they were getting gifts and gifts and gifts. 2 years ago, when they were at the right age, I decided to open up for them a donor-advised fund, door-to-door fund. So I gave them each a certain amount of money, and they, on their own, the first year they gave to charities of their choice. 50% of it had to be Jewish causes. They did that. The second year, which was last year, I gave them each their own money and then money for them to work together. And when we met for them, so they were in 4 different states, 4 different schools. One was working through Zoom and through the help of the Jewish Foundation, wonderful staff. They got together, I'd say at least 4 or 5 times a year, which wasn't easy, on Zoom, and came up with 3 all-Jewish causes, and they gave their funds to Jewish causes. So I'm hoping to continue that legacy forever, and I'm hoping that I will inspire some of you to do the same thing. The other person who I have to mention is Oren Zabin, who became my father figure. I lost my father when I was 39 years old. Oren stepped up, became a father figure to me, and really helped with the principles in life that I have today as far as giving back. And lastly, my mother, who penned a quote that our family lives by every day, which maybe you've heard before because we always say it. This is definitely a principle of our family and our company. You can never do wrong by doing right.
Wow.
So that's what we follow, each and every day.
I love that. Yeah, I have to say that if we're talking about people that have influenced some of the things that we do, Kathy, I have to thank you, because the way that you have worked with your grandchildren around the Lador Vador Fund that you have at the Atlanta Jewish Foundation, we have really seen so much joy from your grandchildren that was inspired by you, by your philanthropy. So, we're talking about legacy tonight. We have gotten to see so much of that through the work that you've done with your own family.
Thank you.
Etta Ray. How would you talk about the work you've done with the next generation? And not necessarily within your family, but it could be if you like.
Well, I just feel that our teens really have power. They maybe aren't getting at home the message of philanthropy, and even though some of us, it's easy, we write a check, we put it in the mail, nobody knows where it went, what it did. But to really get these kids involved in knowing what to do and how to do it. And, even a lot of kids have mitzvah projects, but sometimes they just raise money and send it someplace. They don't go there, they don't get involved. And I think it's really up to us to make sure that that happens. And Federation has invested a good bit of money in teen programs where the teens are involved in a project and they have to agree and come to a decision to decide where they're going to give and whatever. And Creating Connected Communities does a leadership project that is really great. And we need more of that because these kids are resilient, they're strong, and they're powerful. And they really just need our guidance to show them a little bit of what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially right now at Array. Candy, did you have something you
I
wanted
do.
to add?
I mean, I know that Kathy mentioned it, and it just called to mind. Steve, my husband Steve, and I have been so fortunate to have been mentored by some of we call them the architects of this community that built so many of our agencies. And Irwin, Zabin, and Meyer Balser, and Betty Ann and Harvey Jacobson, they shaped who we were and who we care about in this community. And the Cohens, I see so many of their children here. But I've always felt that now that we are matriarchs, although Kathy says she's too young to be a matriarch.
You all are. You all are.
But whatever we are, that we have a responsibility to mentor others. And I feel like the younger people, they look at things a little differently. They're not exactly, their charitable priorities are different. It's just different. And I just feel like we have to either initiate the mentorship, but we have to be able to mentor others.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting that you say that you were mentored by the architects of this community, because when I look, out, I feel like I'm looking at our community's architects. So I love that you feel so passionately about that, and I hope that many people in this room feel inspired to mentor the next generation. Speaking of next generation, our last question for all of you. When you look long, long, long into the future, long,
Good.
what do you want your family and your community to say about you?
Well, I'm glad I've had cataract surgery so I can look long into the future. The first thing I want my grandchildren to say is that they were they were that I cared for them the most. I want each of my grandchildren to think that they were the best to me. But I would like my children in 20, 25 years, my grandchildren in 50 years, to be on this stage and to say that it was their grandmother, their mother, that pushed them in the direction of philanthropy.
Kathy?
Okay, this is a hard one for me because, as Candy said, I think I'm way too young to be a matriarch. And so I don't even like to think about the future, except being alive, of course. But so this one I had to write down, so I'm going to read it. I am one lucky woman to have such a close, loving, immediate family and a wonderful, special, extended family. Yesterday, I was at the funeral of Lil Weber, who lived to be 100 years old. She became my adopted grandmother 25 years ago when we became family. My two grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, spoke at the funeral, and I only hope to live to be a healthy 100 and have great-grandchildren who will think the same of me. But I think, first of all, I'm so very proud of my family, my children, my grandchildren, my brother, my sisters, my nephews, my nieces. But I would say mom, nana, nini, aunt, sister is all heart. This is what I hope that they say. Everything she does comes from the heart. She gives us unconditional love and support and is always there for us for any and everything. She taught us the importance of family and family traditions, whether it's family holidays at her and Kearney's house, weekends at the lake, birthday dinners, or just special time together. She is a role model for us and a driving force in our life to be good people through acts of kindness, giving back, standing up proudly for what we believe, treating others with respect, and always being thankful for our many blessings. And I thank my grandchildren, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I am, thinks I'm a badass.
You are a badass.
And I hope my community thinks of me as a driving force also, someone who brought people together to strengthen Jewish life in our community and around the world, someone who worked really hard to make things happen, and someone who stood up and spoke up for what I believed. I hope I'm a role model for the next generation to get involved and to continue to make our world a safer and stronger place. And I hope my impact lasts forever. And I'm going to end with a quote from a man who I really admire. And he said, and I hope you all take this home with you, creating legacies are the foundation that our futures are built. Creating legacies are the foundations that our futures are built.
Thank you. Raya?
I am honored to be included in this panel of great matriarchs, as it is a collective effort to build our community and help Jews in need. I am a third-generation refugee immigrant, and my wish for all our children and grandchildren never to experience the difficulties, pain of separation, and fear that refugees and immigrants experience. As for my legacy, it is to remember our tradition and live according to the laws of the Torah. After all, that's God's gift to us. Am Israel High.
I'm Israel
Israel
High.
High. Etta Ray?
Woo. Hard to be last. I just hope that 100 years from now, that you can say that I taught by example, that I hoped I helped you to be an educated philanthropist, because I think you really need to know where you're giving, who you're giving to, and what you're doing. And that I hope you also give not because it's just an obligation, it's an honor, and do it with joy.
Amen. Etta Ray, Raya, Kathy, Candy, in your honor, we have planted a ring of trees in Israel. Thank you so much for participating tonight and describing how each of you live philanthropy every day. I would also like to recognize our sponsors one more time: Associated Insurance and Risk Management Advisors, Free Run ATL by Roots, the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, and South State. Thank you for your extraordinary support and for being pillars in our community. I also want to acknowledge the strong leadership of our colleagues from organizations across Jewish Atlanta who have participated in the Harold Grinspoon Foundation's Life and Legacy program. Your commitment and guidance set a powerful example for us all, and we thank you for leading the way. I also want to extend my deepest thanks to the incredible teams who made tonight possible: the AA staff, Barry Herman, Chris Carr, Miriam Habith-Galfund, Jackie Nix, and Rabbi Rosenthal. Thank you for hosting Grow a Legacy. Tamar and Mark Stern and Lisa and Jim Hayner, our dedicated lay leaders from across Federation and Foundation, thank you. The Atlanta Jewish Foundation team, thank you for igniting our passion for legacy giving. Thank you to our brilliant marketing team for sharing our story far and wide. Thank you to Rachel Rosner, Endowment and Fiduciary Review Officer. And thank you to Levi Burton, our events manager, whose exceptional coordination helped create this unforgettable evening. Now, as we bring tonight's celebration to a close, I invite you to take the next bold step. I challenge you to make legacy commitments to any of the phenomenal organizations present here tonight if you haven't already. And we at the Atlanta Jewish Foundation can be your partner in establishing your plan. Your support today is not only an expression of love for our community, but also a commitment to ensuring that our shared values and traditions continue to flourish for generations to come. Thank you for being here, for your passion, and for upholding our strong culture of philanthropy. Together, let's build a legacy that will resonate far into the future. Thank you.